Too Faced sent me their new Born This Way mini eyeshadow palettes. We have a more warm toned one and a more cool toned one. And I asked you guys on Instagram if you want to see a video with these palettes, which one would you want me to use? And most people voted for both. So today I created 2 looks with each palette. I started with the cool tone palette. I created kind of more of like a soft glam everyday look. And then of course I did something a little bit smokier. And then for the warm palette, you can see I have my 2 looks on right now. I did something a little bit more pink, and then I tried to do more of like your classic 2015 warm toned kind of smoky eye. So if you were interested in these palettes and you want to see how they performed and how to do some looks with them, go ahead and keep on watching. So this is the Cold Smolder Nudes palette. We have 3 matte shades and 3 shimmer shades, so let's see what we can do with this. My eyes will be primed the exact same way for all 4 of these looks. I started with the Rare Beauty eyeshadow primer, and then I set that with the translucent powder. I'm going to start with this light matte shade on a fluffy brush. This shade looks pretty light, so I'm curious to see how it's going to show up on my skin tone. And I'm just running that throughout my entire crease. Okay, just want to show you that there is a lot of kickback when I pick up this shadow, but I just tap off my brush to get that extra pigment off of it. And I'm going to add on another layer of this shadow, see if I can build this up at all. I feel like I'm getting a little bit of something, but really not a lot. Alright, I've tried building up this shade about 3 times now, and I am getting something, but it is very, very subtle. I'm going to take the next matte shade, and I want this to be more on the outer part of my eye, kind of the outer part of my crease. There we go, now we're getting some pigment. It's actually looking pretty smooth on my eyelid. I do like the tone of this shadow where it is, again, more cool toned. On a small firm blending brush, I'm going to take more of that medium matte shade and apply that along the outer part of my lower lash line. If you wanted to do just like a soft kind of matte everyday look, this would be a perfect place to stop. I gotta try out this light shimmery shade, so I'm gonna take that on my finger. That looks really pretty though. And I'm gonna apply that on the inner blank part of my lid. Oh! Okay, Too Faced. That's a really pretty shimmer. I honestly was not expecting like this much kind of like reflect and shimmer in the shadow, but this is really, really pretty. So I kind of pack most of the shimmer on the inner part of my lid, and then I'm just kind of feathering out that shimmer throughout the rest of my lid, kind of up into my crease a little bit. I think for this look, I want to do a little shadow wing. So I'm going to take that deepest matte shade on a small angled brush. So I'm going to start by stamping that shadow along the outer part of my top lash line, and then I'll start to flick out that shadow. I really like the color of this deep shade. I like that it's not completely black, it's not brown, it's kind of like a mixture, but it's just a really nice deep shade. I kind of want to do that little inner corner flick as well, so I'm going to take more of that dark shade and do that. Just a little something right in there. I went ahead and finished up this look with just the mascara because I know a lot of you guys don't wear falsies every day like I do, but today I'm wearing the Milk Kush mascara. I think this look turned out so pretty though. For me, I would call this more of a glam version of an everyday eye look. I did go ahead and pop on a half lash. You guys know I love my half lashes, and for this lash, I'm wearing the Bright Lashes half lash in Whisper. And here's the final close-up of the first look with the more cool toned palette. Alright, let's move on to the second look with the cool tone palette. So for this look, I'm also going to start with that medium matte shade on my fluffy crease brush. And I'm going to blend this shade throughout my entire crease. For the first look, I focused this shade more on the outer crease, but this time I'm going to go all the way in here towards the inner crease, doing my little kind of circular motions, and then all the way towards the outer crease. So even though for that first look, that very light matte shade I laid down didn't really show up, I think it did really help with the blend. I'm gonna pick up some of this shade, and this one's gonna go kind of higher in my crease, almost right under my brow. And this is more just gonna help to blend everything out. Then I did pick up a little bit more of the medium matte shade, and I'm just building that up in my crease. Now I'm gonna try this shimmer again on my finger. Ooh, this one looks a little bit more taupey, and I'm gonna pat this all over my lid. The shadow is a little bit flaky as I'm pressing it on my lid, but that'll be pretty easy just to wipe away. I don't know if you can see, it's very minimal, but just take a little small brush and just kind of fluff those away. But I am very impressed with these two shimmers so far that I've used. Like, I don't remember Too Faced shimmers being like this kind of opaque, and it just looks really pretty all over. And then I like to go back to my crease brush, and I'm gonna softly blend around that shimmer. Then I'm going to take my small firm blending brush with the medium matte shade, and I'm going to apply that along my entire lower lash line. Now I haven't tried this deepest shimmer from the palette yet, so again, I'm going to take that one on my finger. And this one looks a little bit more gray to me, and I want to see if I can tap that on the outer part of my lid. See if I can deepen this up with this shade at all. I don't really think that shimmer deepened up my outer corner at all, but you can definitely see that kind of gray shimmer right out here. I do want to deepen up the look, so I'm going to take a tiny bit of this deepest shade on my small firm blending brush, and I'm just going to pat that on the very, very outer part of my lid. Okay, I'm keeping the shade nice and low on my lid. I'm not bringing it up into my crease. And also taking some of that dark shade on the outer part of my lower lash line, just to kind of make this look a bit smokier. Okay, so I built up that deeper shade a little bit more in the outer corner, and now I do have a little bit of a harsh line right here, as you can tell. So I'm going to take a little bit more of that medium matte shade on this brush and just kind of blend right on top of this harsh line. All right, there we go, that looks better. Now I'm gonna take more of that deepest matte shade on my small angled brush, and I'm gonna stamp that along the outer part of my top and lower lash line. I went ahead and finished up this eye with some mascara and lashes. Again, I'm just wearing the Whisper Half Lash from the Bright Lashes. I did pop a little bit of a highlighter just in my inner corner and right under my brow, and for that I kept on the Too Faced theme, so I'm wearing the Moon Crush highlighter, and this is in the shade Shooting Star. And here's the final close-up of the second eye look with the Cool Toned palette. Now let's move on to the more warm tone palette. This is the Warm Ember Nudes. I feel like warm tones aren't as popular as they used to be, but I'm excited to try this out. On a fluffy crease brush, I'm going to take that light matte pink shade. I'm a little worried that this shade won't show up again, kind of like the first palette, but let's see. And I'm just going to blend that throughout my entire crease. Okay, I feel like I'm getting a little bit of pink, but it is very, very soft looking. All right, so I've built up this shade about 3 times now, and here is what it's looking like. Just want to show you, like, this is nothing on my eye. This eye is primed, and this is with the pink on it. I don't know, can you see a difference? It's very, very subtle, but maybe you like a soft wash of pink, so that's fine too. Next, I want to pick up this more kind of pink looking shimmer. That is what that looks like. And let's go all over the lid. So I feel like these shimmers have such an interesting texture to them. Like they feel like they're kind of half of a cream, but they also feel a little dry at the same time, but the pigment is pretty dang good on these. But it's definitely not one of those kind of sheer shimmers. It's gonna be very opaque. But I do kind of feel like this shimmer kind of accentuates some of the lines in my eyes. So if you're someone that has kind of more wrinkles on your eyelids, you might not love this formula. I'm gonna go back to my fluffy crease brush and blend around that shimmer right in the crease. Now I'm going to take this kind of deeper, warm matte brown on a pencil brush, and I'm going to run that across my entire lower lash line. It's very pigmented at first. So far, I've been very impressed by their eyeshadow formula. I feel like in the past, they haven't been as pigmented, kind of tricky to apply, just like hard to work with in general. But so far, these matte shades are very pigmented right off the bat. They're easy to blend. They look smooth on the eye, so props to Too Faced there. And then on my pencil brush, I'm going to take that light matte pinky shade. Even though this didn't really do much in my crease, I'm going to kind of use this to soften out the lower lash line. Also, I'm just now noticing these palettes do have a scent to them. I don't really enjoy the scent, but I need to look up and see what this is. I'm not seeing anything on their website that mentions this scent, but there's definitely a scent. All right, I feel like I need more shadow in my crease right up here because my eye is looking a little bit closed off. So I'm gonna take that medium matte shade and I'm just gonna blend this mostly in my upper crease area. Now this palette also has a really light shimmery shade and I want to compare that to the cool toned one. Okay, so there they are kind of side by side. Don't they look pretty similar? I'm going to swatch those out, see if there's any difference. It's pretty subtle, but this one is from the warm tone palette. You can see there's like a little bit of just warmth to that shade, honestly. And then this is the one in the cool tone palette. A little bit brighter, a little bit more white in there. I'm gonna touch up that pink shimmery shade on my lid just a little bit more because it did get kind of blended away with all my blending in the crease. Is it bubblegum? I kind of feel like that's what I'm getting from these palettes with the scent, but I'm really bad at like recognizing scents. I'm gonna take a little bit of that lightest shade and I'm gonna pop that in the very center of my eyelid just to kind of brighten this up a little bit, kind of do a little bit of a halo eye. Now I am going to touch up my lower lash line just a little bit more with that deeper warm shade. I went ahead and finished up this look with some mascara, lashes, and again I popped on that Too Faced highlighter right in my inner corner and brow bone. And for my lashes, I went with the most natural lash I have, which is the Bright Lashes Minimalist. And then I did stamp just a little bit of a dark brown shadow on top of the lash band to help it blend into my eye better. And here's the final close-up of the first look with the more warm-toned palette. Now for the second look with the warm toned palette, I'm going to take a mixture of these two matte shades on my fluffy crease brush, and I'm going to blend that throughout my entire crease. I picked up more of just the medium matte shade and applying that throughout the crease. Again, I'm just very impressed with how smooth these matte shades look on the eye and how easy they are to work with. On a pencil brush, I'm taking more of that medium matte shade and applying that across my entire lower lash line. Now I'm going to take the deepest brown on a crease brush, and I'm going to start by placing my brush on my outer crease, and I'm going to blend this mostly out here. Ooh, this is really pigmented. Kind of going for like a classic 2014 warm smoky eye look. You saw how pigmented that shade was right off the bat, but it's really easy to blend out. Now I'm taking a little bit more of that deeper shade on the tip of my crease brush, and I'm applying that on the outer part of my lower lash line. Now I'm going to take this more coppery shimmer on my finger. Okay, there is what it looks like, and that's going to go on the center of my eyelid. And then taking that lightest shimmer on my finger, and that's going to go on that inner blank part of my lid. And then I am overlapping those two shimmers right in here. So I kind of want a little gradient from that light shimmer to the copper shimmer and then to the deep matte outer corner. I am very happy with how the lid looks right now. So again, I finished up this eye look with that same highlighter in my inner corner and my brow bone. And then I'm wearing that same Minimalist lash from the Bright Lashes. And here's the final close-up of the second look using the warm toned palette. As I'm looking at these two warm tone looks before I do the rest of my face makeup, I can appreciate how these warm tones aren't super orangey. It's definitely not as orangey as the tones we saw back in like 2015. I went ahead and finished up my makeup, and I used some Too Faced products to finish up this look. For my blush, I'm wearing the Cloud Crush blush in Golden Hour. This is my most used shade out of the ones that I have. And then for my highlighter, again, I just used that Moon Crush highlighter. And then for my lips, I lined them with a little bit of Makeup Forever Wherever Walnut. And then I popped on the Kissing Jelly Gloss in Sour Watermelon. I've been loving these glosses. I have two of them. This one's the raspberry, and I'm like about halfway done with this one now. So overall, I'm way more impressed with these mini palettes than I thought I would be. I can't even remember the last Too Faced palette I used. I want to look it up. Oh yeah, the last Too Faced palette I used was the Cosmic Crush palette that had like some pinky, some kind of blue colors in it. But I feel like since then they have really improved their eyeshadow formula. I think if you're someone that wants a small, kind of travel-friendly little palette and you like either warm tones or cool tones, I don't think you'd be disappointed in these. But if I had to pick one, I'd probably pick the cool tone one. I just tend to wear these kind of shades of shadow more. Let me know which palette you like better and whether or not you're gonna pick one of these up. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.